5 steps to become a champion company. This could even 13x your performance. I know that may sound unbelievable, but I'll share with you how Jimmy Johnson, 2-time Super Bowl champion coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and also national champion at the college football level with the Miami Hurricanes, what I learned from Jimmy Johnson and see what happened from stage. And as a quick teaser, we'll show that 13x, Jimmy Johnson went from 1 win with the Dallas Cowboys to 13 wins, and how that happened only 3 seasons later. Step 1 was clear, unwavering vision and clear expectations. Jimmy Johnson had the vision for how his team was going to operate. He had a very big attention to detail. And as you may have heard from Donald Trump, God is in the details. That's who I heard it from. Maybe he got it from somebody else. And Jimmy Johnson was very big on attention to detail, what players he needed, what coaches he needed, and what seats on the bus each of those people were going to occupy to get to his vision. With the Miami Hurricanes, he started with a good team. He wanted to take them to the next level. And with the Dallas Cowboys, he started with a terrible team. They were described as the worst in the NFL when he took over the team in 1989 to 4 years later, Super Bowl champions, 1990, 91, 92. So yeah, I guess 89 they were bad, and then 90, 91, 92, Super Bowl champions in 92. So how did he do that turnaround? This clear, unwavering vision and clear expectations that he communicated consistently. And it goes to the principle. I like to talk about principles. If you've seen any of my other videos, without vision, the people will perish. It comes from the Bible. It's a timeless principle. I like to use things that'll work today, 5 years from now, 100 years from now. Jimmy Johnson understood that when he was building his organization, as you're building your company, at every level, what people do you need and what seats on the bus, and how are you going to communicate that vision, those high expectations you have, and be clear in each role, in each position, what it's going to take, what kind of performance, and how that's going to be measured. And yes, you're going to have to think through that, and part of it starts with you, and it starts with me. As a leader of our companies, we've got to change that be, do, have. We've got to be a better leader, become more, if we're going to get to those higher levels, because what got you to this point in your company is not going to get you to the next higher level. Maybe you're making $1 million in earnings now, but you want to go to 3 million, 4 million, 10 million. It's going to take a different level of vision, a bigger vision, as we'll talk about a little later in this video, a different strategy and method, because the things you've done, the steps you've taken, who you've become to get to this point at, say, $1 million in earnings, is going to have to radically change and transform to get to $4 million or $10 million in earnings. So put some thought, ask yourself some questions as you're looking to articulate, write down your vision, and then clearly communicate that, and have clear expectations where you stand right now as your company, in your industry, in your service area. For us, I'm in a service area of Highland Lakes in Texas, which is a little west of Austin. Got a plumbing, electric, and HVAC, air conditioning company. And we're one of the top companies, if not the top company right now. So, and our business model is billable hours. And so maximizing time on the client job site, minimizing drive time. And so that means more market share in neighborhood by neighborhood. Some neighborhoods we're at 20, 30% market share. And so it's on me to get to that vision and then execute that on how do we get to 50%, 70% market share, dominate in those neighborhoods so that we're doing 3, 4, 5 service calls per day in one neighborhood. And our vision is to continue that dominance neighborhood by neighborhood, increasing that market share locally instead of driving 45 minutes one way, an hour one way, like a lot of our competitors. And so to get to our strategic vision, we have the opportunity to double or triple in size just in our current service area before I'm looking to do another acquisition or expand another branch location into the next area that makes geographic sense for us. And so it's on me to articulate that vision and those clear expectations to our team. And obviously for us and for you, recruiting is going to be a big piece, as we'll talk about in the upcoming 4 steps in this video. Defining your vision, ask about where do you stand in your industry, in your marketplace. Are you number one? Are you number two? Are you number six in your market or your service area? What does your team do well right now? What does your company do well? What are you known for? And then if those things don't align with the vision you'd like to create, what do you need to do to change things? Do you need to change a team member or two? Do you need to change your message, your branding, your marketing? Those questions can get you, once you get clear on your vision, on steps you need to take to implement to that vision. Next, we'll go into step 2, is elite talent evaluation and recruiting, attracting that talent to your company, to your team. Jimmy Johnson was a master of evaluating talent and finding players that fit his system, his team, his style of play. And one of the things he was not afraid to do was go after players that other teams had overlooked, either didn't recruit at the college level or didn't draft, if we're talking about the NFL level. And so a few of the things you can do for your company is have a defined process, because Jimmy knew the type of players he was looking for, what qualities they had. They were gritty, they were resilient, they had a positive attitude that led to more grit and resilience on the field when adversity hits, because adversity will hit your company. So you need to define what 2 or 3 main qualities are you looking for in a person that's a cultural fit for your team. Of course, you look for the skills, the knowledge, and the experience and the work ethic. But there's probably those 2 or 3 other factors. Maybe your team is second or third, like Avis in the rental car market. We try hard. I don't know if that's still their marketing slogan, but for a long time that was their marketing slogan, because they knew they weren't going to beat Enterprise to be number 1, but they get that number 2 position. There's a lot of money to be made in that position. And so find those people, ask yourself that question. Are you guys the dominant player? Can you afford to go after top talent, people that are established superstars in your industry, super salespeople, top 1%, top 2% producers? Can you just go after them, make a big money offer to attract them to your team? Do you need to go after up and coming people on your team? I've been watching this Power Moves with Shaquille O'Neal and Allen Iverson, how they are remaking the Reebok basketball brand. Reebok hadn't been in the basketball shoe business for like 15 years. It's interesting if you want to go watch that on Netflix. But the big thing they did is they realized they weren't going to be Nike. They couldn't make the huge dollar offers. So what could they do? Where could they fit? What type of players could they attract? And so they went with young players, up and coming, scrappy, good talent, but players that they could build up. As the player was building up in their career, Reebok could be a part of helping them build up instead of going after established superstars. So ask yourself the question in your company: where does your company fit in your service area or in your industry? And how can you attract? What type of team members can you attract? Do you need to go scrappy? Do you need to go for fighters that have a good fighting spirit? Do you need to go for top communicators, top salespeople, or can you go for the established superstars? Define that for yourself. Ask yourself some of those questions where you fit, so you've got a bullseye of exactly who you're going after, what qualities, and then you'll have a lot clearer picture that you can go out and start those conversations, make an offer to that person, because probably the type of person you're looking for, as I've found in business, is already employed. They're probably not sitting on the couch. They're probably working for some other company. So you're going to have to entice them over to your company with that clear message, that clear vision we talked about in step 1, to entice them to say, here's why we're a better fit at this company, how we can be better as a team, a better environment for you, and be more beneficial to lift you up in your career in those next phases of your career. Step 3 that Jimmy Johnson did was strong leadership and decisiveness. Decision-making that was quick, even if certain things were unpopular. And one quick example, back when he took over Herschel Walker of the Dallas Cowboys, Herschel Walker was a very popular player, still near the peak of his performance in his playing career. Johnson swung a huge trade to get a bunch of draft picks. And the trade was unpopular at a time, to trade a star player away that still had a lot of multiple years expected of peak performance to trade a guy at that point in his career. But it turned out to be a masterstroke of genius with all the draft picks that Jimmy Johnson got, and the Cowboys then turned those into, again, as we talked about in the previous step, talent evaluation, what type of team members fit, what they were looking to build in their system, and they became champions very quickly after that trade. So in your organization, strong leadership and decisiveness, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate your decisiveness? Do you have information come at you and take a little deep breath and say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, decide? Or do you take longer and longer and longer to decide? Certain things you do need to take a little bit of time, but a lot of things it's way better to be decisive and make a decision that turns out to be wrong than delay in indecision. That usually causes a lot more harm than making a decision, getting into action. Even if that turns out to be wrong, you're in action, you realize it's wrong, then you can adapt and figure out, okay, this path will be better over here, which is better for the company. And it's something that I do as a daily practice, being more decisive, making decisions, because there is such a thing as decision fatigue. And it's kind of like any other muscle. As you're building it, practicing each day, you build up more and more stamina to make more and more decisions. Your decision reservoir can increase and increase and increase month by month, year by year. And you'll be able to be more decisive, be more confident in your decisions. And as you practice it, make better and better decisions. A higher percentage of your decisions will be ones that were productive, profitable, and useful for your company versus when you started out. And one of the things in Jimmy Johnson's leadership that he always emphasized with his entire organization, players, coaches, administrators, leadership of the Cowboys, was positive attitude plus effort equals performance. And the beauty of it is such a simple formula. He plastered it day one when he got to the Cowboys, plastered it on the board, plastered it in writing. Positive attitude plus effort equals performance. Because the players couldn't help their God-given talent. God gave them a certain amount of talent or not. But what was in their command was how positive their attitude was each day and how much effort they were going to put forth each day. As they increased their positive attitude each day and increased their effort each day, their performance would dramatically increase up closer to even maximizing their potential. So as a leader, again, focus on improving yourself, becoming more decisive, and then communicate that down to each of your members of your team day by day, and you'll be surprised at the dramatic improvement in the performance of your company and your profits. Step 4, purge underperforming team members or negative personalities, even regardless of past reputation and performance. Maybe they were a superstar salesman for you a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. They were responsible for 60% or 80% of your sales and your profits. But now today they've gotten complacent or they've gotten a negative attitude. Some negative things have happened in their life. Jimmy Johnson was very famous, and it was one of these 5 principles that we're talking about where he would look at players and he was ruthless about it. He was very upfront about it, very clear about it, decisive, and even ruthless. Even if it had been a superstar player the last season or 2 seasons ago, if their attitude had turned negative, they were having a detrimental impact on other team members, because negativity does spread like a virus. It will spread and drag down other people, even drag down the whole team. In the current company I'm in, again, in plumbing, electric, and HVAC, the previous owner that also still owns an ownership stake, one of the things he told me with this company and with any company, it's a good principle: one bad apple can destroy the whole batch. Now, he's not the first person I've heard that from, but it's very true. And on your team, even one bad team member, and they don't have to be so bad that they wake up in the morning looking to actively sabotage your company, sabotage your systems, drive customers away, insult customers. If you've got a sale pending, I'm not saying they're reaching out to that customer insulting them, calling them names, rescinding the sales offer or the contract. I'm not saying active sabotage. I'm just saying that quiet neglect can be one. Somebody that's always watching the clock. Is it 5 o'clock yet? Is it 6 o'clock yet? Whatever your ending time is that for that shift. Are they always looking at the clock saying, is this shift over? Is it time to go home yet? Am I out of work yet? Those type of players, those type of team members, that type of attitude, and that lack of approach to their work, lack of work ethic, it spreads like a virus to other members of your team. And so even well-performing team members who performed extremely well for you before, if you let that bad apple stay for weeks or months or years, that person that's got a negative attitude dragging down your team, it's going to drag down the performance of your other team members. Because one of my old football coaches, just to be clear, not Jimmy Johnson, one of my old football coaches had a very vivid saying that I remember. You can stick a white glove in mud and the glove will get muddy, but the mud won't get glovey. And so it was that white versus the mud, that white light. You often consider that we often think about that as doing the right thing, associating with people, doing good things, doing productive things in life. If you're part of that type of group, you'll keep moving that direction. But if you get in with a group that's, committing crimes, doing bad things, not doing their work, that will drag people down. But the people doing the good work are not going to lift those people up. That's the basic principle. So you want to keep associating with people, moving in a productive, profitable, positive direction, instead of attempting to drag people who are not of that mindset, don't have that ambition, don't have that positive attitude. They're going to drag you down instead of you lifting and dragging them up. Finally, we get to step 5 in Jimmy Johnson's 5 steps to a championship team, which you can use to create a championship company. And it's clear communication of those expectations each day. And that clear communication, that clarity, that consistency. You can't be changing your message week by week by week. It's got to be a clear foundations and continue that consistency of here's the performance. And you may or may not have those, depending on how small or how big your company is, those periodic reviews of here was your performance, here were the results of your work, and here were the goalposts, the milestones we were looking for. Were you exceeded what we forecast for you, for your role, what we agreed on together? Did you have that conversation up front? These are the results I expect from you in the next 30 days, in the next 90 days. And then when we get to that point, did you hit those goals? Did you exceed them? Did you hit them? Or did we underperform? And then if we exceeded, why did we exceed? What more can we keep doing? Can we add fuel to that bonfire? If we met the goals, okay, how can we do better? And hopefully when you ask that question, your team member says, man, I would love to do better, has that ambition and desire to do better. That tells you you've got, maybe they're not what you would consider an A player yet, a top team member, top performer in your company or industry yet, but they have the ambition, the drive, and they're taking the initiative to get there. Those are, of course, the team members you want to pour into, get more training, put more time in with them, recommend resources to them that can help them continue to take those steps higher on their career journey to get higher and higher. And the more you do that, the more loyal they will be to you and your company, and their performance will continue to improve. Because again, it goes back to some of the concepts we've talked about. That positive attitude plus effort equals performance. And again, as you're clear with those, communicating those expectations each day, that is step 5. And one quick thing I'll say that I have found is multiple times throughout my life and my career, I thought I communicated clearly and compellingly. And I thought the communication happened. I thought the message that I sent was the message that person received, internalized, and then could implement. And what I found was they heard something completely different, or they just weren't going to do it. It was in one ear, out the other. So I heard a very good soundbite the other day. The biggest mistake in communication is thinking it actually happened. And I heard that from Myron Golden's daughter. She's the CEO of his company, and so that's very clear, and that's something that I've internalized, and now I communicate two, three, four times. Once a person starts to get a little annoyed or peeved, then I know, okay, I've probably repeated that too much. So you find that tightrope. Repetition is the mother of learning, but at some point you repeat too much, and then the person starts to get frustrated. But you got to get right to that point, I've found, because again, the biggest mistake in communication is thinking it actually happened. So as you're communicating those clear expectations, do the repetition, and day by day you can use different words to get to that same message, and it sounds a little different. And as you use different words, different people on your team will internalize that a different way. Sometimes you tell a little story around it to illustrate that concept. That'll click with somebody and they'll start to implement. A different member of your team, you tell a slightly different story a few days later, or a different concept. Again, you communicate it in certain words that they heard growing up, and that clicks with them. Clear, consistent communication over time is what's going to get it done. That fifth factor that led Jimmy Johnson to 2 Super Bowl wins and a national championship with the Miami Hurricanes. So in conclusion, the 5 steps that we learned from how Jimmy Johnson built teams and organizations to become championship organizations, what you can use in your company, how he took over the Dallas Cowboys. They won 1 game in his first season in 1989. 3 seasons later, 1992, they won 13 games and were Super Bowl champions because he transformed his team, transformed his players, and the organization, which you can do as well. He started with a clear vision and communicated that and the expectations clearly. Second, he had elite talent evaluation and recruiting and attracting of that talent, whether it was recruiting in the college level or drafting at the pro level. Third, he showed strong leadership and decisiveness. He was a quick decision maker, and he had a clear vision of what he was going to do, and then he made decisions based on that. That was step number 3. 4, he purged any negative personalities, negative team members that no longer fit the culture, even if before they had been strong past performers, superstars in the past. But he didn't let past performance dictate his current, present decision making. And finally, number 5, he had consistent communication of his expectations, consistent, clear, and compelling. And his big formula was positive attitude plus effort equals performance. So you can figure out what that formula is for you, or what that message is. Simple message. That was the beauty of Jimmy Johnson's formula there, that he plastered on billboards around the Dallas Cowboys. It was easy for the players to internalize, the team members he had to understand and get to that performance level. Positive attitude plus effort equals performance. So figure out what that is for you, what that clear message is going to be for you. Make sure it stays simple. That was the beauty of Jimmy Johnson's message. It was simple so that every player could understand it and then implement it in their daily practice. If you do these things, I know business is different. It's not about specific wins and losses on a playing field, but you can potentially go 13x or more your company's profits, performance, and even market share, especially if you're small. If you got 2 or 5% market share, you could 13x that market share, depending on how you implement these things and the team members that you recruit and attract to your team.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.